is going to be episode 1 of our series Xbox versus PlayStation 5, and today we're going to be tackling the resolution versus frame rate. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Esiva, this is LaserBolt, and welcome to today's videos, guys. I decided to start a series. It's going to be primarily focusing on Xbox Series X versus PlayStation 5. Now, this is not going to be some sort of console war. This is just a series to help you make a better decision. I think when we get close to the fall and the release of the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, you're going to have to make a very important decision. And this decision is going to be, where do you want to spend your $500 on? Do you want to spend it on an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5? Now, I know a lot of people aren't privileged enough to get both consoles, and it's going to be a tough choice, not only for you as an individual, but also for your parents. If your parents are deciding to pick up a console, you're going to have to tell them which console you want them to pick. And we want to tackle all the questions that the majority of you guys might have. What are the benefits of one console versus the other? And I wanted to start up this series not to start a console war, but primarily to start a discussion where we could come together as a gaming community and decide what console is going to best fit our needs. But before we get started, I have a question for you guys. What do you prefer? Do you prefer better frame rate or do you prefer better resolution? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, I was going to wait to actually start this series because I wanted to hear all the specs that the PlayStation was going to have. I wanted to hear all the specs that the Xbox was going to have and then do a kind of comparison video. But based on the fact that Phil Spencer actually came out recently and talked about this particular topic, I feel that it's something that needs to be addressed and something that needs to be talked about, and we're going to talk about it today. Now, as you guys already know, both consoles should primarily be able to reach 8K resolution. Now, I know a lot of us are barely getting introduced into 4K, or some of us just kind of recently updated our TVs to a 4K or our monitors. We're already talking about 8K resolution, and 8K resolution is going to make games really amazing. As you guys know, Sony already launched a TV that's going to be primarily focused for console gaming, which is going to make the PlayStation 5 even look even better because it's also going to be supporting that 8K resolution. And I guess that's actually what sparked this particular comment from Phil Spencer, kind of talking about what is more important for gamers and what's actually more important for Xbox compared to what's more important for the PlayStation 5. Spencer, in a recent interview, said that he prefers playing in 4K with a higher frame rate cap instead of playing in 8K with a cap in a frame rate. And I'm actually going to quote all the stuff he says. He says, "We've never really tried to limit what developers are trying to do on our platform, whether it's 60 frames per second on an Xbox 360 or people doing 4K 60 frames per second. Now, on the Xbox One," he continued, "we wanted to give developers the tools to go try things that they want to go try on any of the hardware platforms, and capability can be there from them to go try things. I think we've reached a point with the Xbox One X in the generation where games look amazing, and there's always work we can do to look more amazing, but I want games to feel as amazing as they look. We don't have that in today's generation, mainly because the CPU is underpowered relatively to the GPU. That's in the box in order to reach and feel the frame rate and kind of consistency of variable refresh rate and other things that we want. As we are looking in the future, and the feel of the games was definitely something that we want to have more focus on, not just throwing more pixels up on the screen." End quote. Now, basically what he's saying here is, guys, that the CPU, which is what powers the Xbox, what powers the PlayStation 5, he feels it's underpowered, and he feels that both companies have put a lot of emphasis on their previous generation Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 on putting a really high emphasis on the GPU to make games look really good and very crisp. But unfortunately, due to the lack of money being invested on the CPU, has caused the games to drop in frame rate. So that's where we see games looking really amazing, but the frame quality actually dipping, where we get a lot of latency or we get a lot of blur. And as you guys already know, multiplayer games require to have a really good frame rate because you want to make sure you're seeing your target on time. You want to make sure your bullets don't have ghosting. You want to make sure that when you shoot someone, it's actually on the time you see him, not an afterthought that you actually see him. So frame rate is extremely important, and I'm pretty sure the majority of you guys already understand what the difference between frame rate is and what the difference of resolution is, but just going to give you guys a quick overview for those of you who might not be very savvy within the subject. So resolution is pretty much boiled down to on the quality of the way the game looks. If it looks really crispy, if you're able to see the grass, you're able to see the rain, you're able to see a good fidelity. That's pretty much what the resolution is. It's just going to make things look a lot better. Just think about your phone. The higher you get the pixels on your phone, the better quality your picture is going to be. That's just technically what it is. Now, the GPU, which is what he's addressing, which is technically tied down to the frame rate, is how fast you see things on your screen. So basically think of frame rate on how fast the picture gets refreshed on your screen. So if you're watching a movie and the frame rate is very low, you're going to be seeing things really late from the time the audio is actually playing, right? You'll be able to see things even late due to the fact that things are trying to keep up with the audio and not processing at the same time. So currently right now, almost everybody's playing at 30 frames per second. The majority of the games we're playing are at that time. But the problem comes is when you're actually playing multiplayer games or high intense games that require the frame rate to actually be constant. And that's why you see a lot of pro players trying to make the transition from a console to a PC due to the fact that on PC you could get crazy amount of frame rate, which allows them to get more kills due to the fact that they're able to see the enemy faster. And sometimes that is underappreciated due to the fact that we don't notice that because that's something that we don't see happening before our eyes as we do resolution. But the frame rate is such a high demand when it comes to playing games that a lot of people overlook it due to the fact that they can't really see what exactly is happening on the screen. Now, Phil Spencer did say that he wants every single game that comes out for the Xbox Series X to be at least 60 frames per second. He does not want games on his console to be less than 60 frames per second. Now, Sony hasn't come out and said that. They just said that they want really good quality, really good resolution. And it seems like they are focusing more on the resolution, on the games looking really good, and not too focused on the frame rate. And this is where we have our Xbox Series X versus PlayStation 5. What is more important? Was it more important to have really good looking games, or is it more important to have the games look good but still maintain a really good resolution? Now I'm going to give you guys my personal opinion, and then you guys can go ahead and dive into the comments and let me know exactly how you feel and what do you think is better, and if actually any of this will sway you to prefer a console more than the other. Me personally, I've been playing games for a while now, and I can tell you guys that frame rate is extremely important. I mean, if you've ever played multiplayer games, and as we move forward to this new generation of games, it seems like everything's going to be up in the cloud. Everything is going to be multiplayer. They want more games that are more streamable, where you're playing with multiple people. And frame rate is actually extremely important. Currently, right now, I am extremely unsatisfied on the way the games currently look right now. They look beautiful. 4K is amazing. If you have 4K plus HDR, that's even better. 8K is going to be even more amazing than what 4K and HDR looks like. But I feel at this current moment, or at this time in time, we really need to work on the frame rate due to the fact that we are so behind to the frame rate. On the PC, we're talking about 240 frames per second. On the Xbox, PlayStation 4 right now, we're struggling to get 30 frames per second. I mean, some games play 60 frames per second and we're still struggling at that. So I feel quality-wise, we're at a really good state right now in gaming and in the way the games look. But I do feel that we are lacking in frame rate, and I have to actually side on Xbox side on this one. I believe frame rate is actually going to be extremely important, and it's something that should definitely be addressed. And I'm crossing my fingers that after hearing this, maybe the PlayStation 5 actually makes every single game that's coming out on the PlayStation 5 require to be 60 frames per second. As of right now, they haven't made any announcement. They haven't said anything. So I'm just going on that particular side of things, that since nothing has been said, it's not a mandatory thing on their platform. As of right now, Xbox did come out and say that that is a mandatory thing. So that's why I am siding with this one on the Xbox. But now it's time for you guys to chime in. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you prefer? Do you prefer better frame rate, or do you prefer better resolution? And I do hope you guys do enjoy this series. We're going to have extensive videos. If there is a topic that you would like to be addressed, let me know what that is in the comment section down below so we could put a series around that. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next video.